equipment looks good. So today's topic is how to find what you truly love doing. It's actually a request from one of my subscribers. It was a comment probably a month or a month and a half ago. So basically finding your path. Because a lot of the focus that we put in our work, in Human Renaissance specifically, is creativity, creatorship, leadership. But to become a creator, to become a leader, we need to be on our path, on the path that aligns with our authenticity. But for many people who have a habit of living in a little bit of self-sabotage, or not a little bit of self-sabotage, actually self-sabotage maxing lifestyle, for them, this becomes a non-trivial task to find what they truly love, because the habit of connecting with what you truly love is kind of lost. It's not exercised. And you know how everything we exercise develops, everything that we push to the side, in a sense, degrades or starts working against us. Hello, Kiushka, nice to see you, welcome. Yes, I hope the sound is good, so please let me know. And I'll probably slide the ironing board a little bit from the view. Excellent. Or I would not bothered by the ironing board. Oh, yes. Good. How are you, Kiva? It feels like it's been a while. The topic today, by the way, Kivushka, finding your path. What do I really want to do? The premise that I just gave when I was doing some warm-up introduction part was, you're well, excellent, was that for a lot of people, finding their path is not a trivial task because they don't connect with what's theirs almost at all. They live, Kumar, hello, thank you. If a person lives in a constant state of self-sabotage on many levels, on physical, on emotional, on interpersonal level, on the level of their creativity, on the level where they invest their life force, if they exercise self-sabotage, then finding their path is difficult. And there's a lot of psychological advice online. Just remember what you loved doing when you were a child. But what I wanted to emphasize today is that connecting with what you love doing as a child, even for a person who is insanely overwhelmed with activities that feel like self-sabotage, will be impossible. How can I, being terribly overworked, how can I, living life that has nothing in common with me but just being my habit or some survival habit, how can I, from that state, openly connect with some experience aligned with my cheerful, happy, childish self? Or more interestingly, what if, as a child, I was seriously abused by some adults or their concepts, their trauma, to the extent that everything I loved as a child, I was shamed for? How can I now, having built my entire life on the basis of the childhood trauma, how can I just suddenly validate that experience, what I really loved doing as a child? When, for example, all I heard was that it was an insanely shameful, stupid, naive, useless, pointless stuff. And I literally built my entire self, my entire identity, chose my profession, going in the opposite direction, trying to please some authoritative figure because it was the safety measure for me. So these are the things that make this seemingly beautiful idea of just connect with what you love doing as a child nearly impossible for an average adult. It's been a while, but we always return with new topic and positivity. Exactly, Kiva. Excellent. Self-sabotage, like purposely ruin your own plans and such. Purposely, perhaps, but the purpose might be of in the plane that we are not aware of. Purposefully is serving some goal that we perhaps are not willing to admit or verbalize. Perhaps we wanted to be suspended in this in between the worlds, like we cannot really pronounce this hidden purpose. We're not willing to, we're not ready to face it yet. But yes, perhaps there is a purpose. So, purposefully ruin your own plans and such, because we always have some opposing forces. Michael, hello, welcome. We have opposing forces. Do I want to get up early in the morning and have this special, beautiful start of the day, filled with energy, filled with some quiet, beautiful, fresh morning enjoyment? Or do I want to stay late tonight and, for example, scroll something or read something or watch something or give in to some perhaps sensual things, some fantasy world? What do I want? So we live in those opposing forces. Do I want to enjoy my solitude today, or do I want to go out of my immediate, let's say, comfort zone and go communicate with people? Because I know that, yes, through this communication, I will get burst of energy. I just don't feel it yet, so it's difficult for me to feel it. So that's why I'm more leaning towards keeping, for example, in my solitude right now. Hello, Konstantin Osvigos. Osvigos. Welcome, guys. Make sure to like this stream, subscribe to my channel. I'm Tantra Coach, certified Tantra Coach, Tantra Therapist, and the author of Human Renaissance program that helps people connect with their creative forces and claim their path and live this beautiful, infinitely fulfilling life. Infinitely expansive, infinitely fulfilling, infinitely inspired life. Thank you, Kivushka. So today we're talking about how to find your path. A lot of my audience are people with advanced education. A lot of my audience are people who would probably identify as intellectuals, who have some interesting experiences, who have very high level of income. Those are the people who work serious jobs. But at some point in life, even if you excelled in your career, even if you achieved certain monetary goals, you start realizing that you want more. You perhaps gain some inertia, some momentum early in life, some survival-driven momentum. You chose the profession that has very powerful monetary potential, for instance, and you propel in life really far. You become a really conventionally successful person. But at some point, you might realize that you want a little bit more than just survival. You might realize that no matter how hard you push, no matter how far you progress, how much money you make, something doesn't quite click. So the demand for finding the true path starts feeling very, very strongly, very prominently. At some point, becoming this sliver that you cannot not feel. And this is a commonplace thing for people with advanced degrees, people who are pushers, people who are hyperachievers, people who had this early development, who made a huge progress in life, and then stumbled upon some dissatisfaction. I have several tests and quiz and project submissions tomorrow, but I can't go without saying hi. Thank you for stopping by and good luck with everything that you have. Enjoy them. The main thing is to enjoy those experiences. And yeah, you have supreme discipline, have supreme mental state, and with all of that, with this good, profound focus, and calmness, you are going to do a wonderful job. 66, Azenar. Thank you so much. Today I'm a little bit trans-maxing, I guess, no makeup or nothing. But thank you so much for your compliments. So, but yeah, expect expect my favorite comment. Actually, already put on a 10, you see. I'm also 10 maxing and C maxing. I was swimming and diving for several days in a row, I think. DCA, best of wishes, and you know what you're doing. Good energy, good spirit, and enjoy. 10 maxing, yes, I've been 10 maxing, and already I think my hair bleached a little bit as well. So, are we ready to go in the topic now? Who is with me on the same page right now? On the topic of finding your path. Actually, I really would want to have Louise here. And with cheese. Thank you. Louise actually brought it up. Remember Louise? We were working with Louise in the stream. On social anxiety thing. And I think it was him who was the author of the question. Thank you so much, 66. So, that was his request. And I would really want Louise, of course, to attend, but we can always watch videos in the recording. So let's look into what are the obstacles in finding your path. Okay, now I'm prepared to move into the topic. Kiva, excellent. Everyone who's ready to move on with the topic, drop some emoji in the chat. I'll start drawing. We have this little child and some adults. Who will tell? Little baby. What you love doing is absolute shit. It will not move you far in life. So the advice, the typical advice that we hear that's towards people who try to find their path is to just do what you loved doing as a child. Just do what you love doing as a child. But the child was told that your puzzles, your drawings, your drumming is absolutely stupid thing. Go do something serious. This leaves a huge imprint. The child remembers that, in general, that it validates for them that what I love is shit. So how are you going to connect with what you love doing as a child when all you know is that there is some authoritative voice in your head that will claim that it is absolute nonsense, that it's absolutely worthless, and that with that, most importantly, this is antagonist to survival. Your parent was telling you that you will never survive if you do what you love, which means that what I love equals death, because it's antagonist of survival. You can read some serious books, you can study well at school, and it will bring you survival, which is love, which is life. But what you love doing is death in your mind. That's literally in the mind of the child. It will be portrayed as death, more importantly, even not just death, but super shameful, abject death with social disapproval. And so, this advice is fundamentally just to remember what you love doing as a child. This advice fundamentally likely is going to just not work for you. Because what you love doing sits in the same domain as shame, as danger, as something that prevents you from survival, and that will bring you the associations that you are being shamed on the square by fellow citizens. This is a scary thing for most people. You know what? I will stay right here. We'll study but check in regular, so let's go. GCA, that's the spirit. So, this advice shall be dismantled. Just remember what you loved doing as a child, up until you are capable of outgrowing this authoritative voice in your head. But until then, this is going to be the scariest thing you can possibly do. And what we usually observe is that people come to this, I want to find my path. The complication here is that the person will be tired, perhaps depressed, perhaps with anxiety, maybe not just tired but exhausted. This is a very deep state in which this question, this demand is experienced. It's not just some casual, like, la la la, what a beautiful Saturday, I want to find my path. No, it is usually, nothing works, and I don't know how to break free. I'm exhausted, and I want to break free. And people will tell you, just remember what you loved doing as a child. You came to this point because you cannot connect with what you loved doing as a child, because you had the prohibition to doing it. Because what you loved doing as a child, as I mentioned, lives in the same domain as dangerous, as antagonist of survival, as something very morbid. And this is the complication here. That's why this is a case for a Tantra coach. This is why it can be really well addressed with that. Or it also can be a case to bring to a psychotherapist who's a very good holistic specialist that will be able to first remove a person with this demand from the tunnel. That will be able to help see bigger picture instead of this hierarchy of goods and bads with compartmentalized categories, of this being something like dark and bad, this being something good and okay. When we swap everything into a toolbox, when we lateralize and equalize our toolbox instead of making the hierarchy, this is when we can start working on actually thinking on what it is that is yours. What is that? What did you really love doing as a child? And what is your path? So what are you teaching today? Today, Karan Rao, we're working on finding your path. Why so many people struggle with finding their path, and answer the question, what do I really want to do? But today I want to walk you through the protocol, how to work on finding that thing that will be your path of creativity and leadership. Comfortable, very expansive, very organic for you. Instead of just dwelling on this question of on this recommendation of what do you really love doing as a child, that we often hear in the online, let's say, pop psychology resources, and so on. If you're it's your first time here, I'm Tantra coach, Tantra therapist. I have certification for that as well. And my other background is I am bachelor's in physics, PhD in engineering. And I also have experience with corporate work, immigration, and a lot of interesting, I guess, experiences, and also have vast experience in teaching and consulting. So you're welcome to join, subscribe to my channel, like this live stream, and if you have any questions, and if this topic is interesting for you, please think about, perhaps you have a personal story to share that we can work on today. Hi, beautiful, haven't seen you in a while. What are you working on? Had to leave for work. I'm Here we go. Finding your path today. We're working on that topic. So then we have religious propaganda, and let's continue. So any questions, any comments so far? Maybe you've been in the situation in which you were not really sure what you wanted to do in life. If we look into this box, the person comes to these questions. What? When person comes to these questions, like, how do I find my path? What do I do in life? I kind of feel like what I'm currently working on is not my authentic path. Everything is all right from the outside. People would say that I'm an insanely successful person, but I don't feel that. Maybe some people will say that they feel dead inside because even though they're making a ton of money, even though they are quite successful from the social standpoint. And the first step that we need to accomplish when we work on such a case, Jay, you need the brain in your life. The first thing that we do with such a person, we need to find resource. Find resources. Because from this mental state, it is insanely difficult to ground into some playful, into some easygoing, in some cheerful, inspired state of mind. So we need to work on finding psychological resource to even accept the thought of embracing something that we love. Because what happens is that people develop a habit of, as we mentioned in the beginning, develop a habit of self-sabotage. Self-betrayal. Self-betrayal that manifests in very little things sometimes. Miss Friedrich Nietzsche. Bye-bye. Hippocrates, thank you. 10 maxing. What was I saying? What after you find your path and can have supporters for your path, then what? Rami Boheri, please elaborate. What do you mean that you can't have supporters for your path? What kind of supporters are we talking about? So self-sabotage, self-betrayal precedes having this question. What's my path? How come does a person not know what they love doing? How come does a person arrive at the point where they don't hear their desires? This is, remember, we were talking pretty often about in the other streams, we're talking about a person may not hear even their physical desires. They may not be eating what they want to be eating or what their body needs for good nutrition. They may be skipping bathrooms, prioritizing, let's say, doom scrolling, or prioritizing appearing convenient for others all the time, or even just sabotaging, going and then fulfilling their physical need. How many people sacrifice sleep in favor of something else and then struggle to live normally throughout the day? How many people would wear uncomfortable clothes that squeeze their belly, preventing them from breathing normally every single day, such that a person forgets how it is to breathe normally? How many people would stop speaking their truth to the extent that they are no longer capable of even thinking their truth? How many people live with suppressed aggression that they cannot healthily express to the extent that they push their boundaries so inwards that they feel just defensive, constantly in some hyper survival mode as opposed to normal steady living mode? These are little things that are so common in the life of an average human that are self-betrayal, that are self-sabotage. And when those little things together are exercised, when a person consistently responds only to the most painful, to the most aggressive signals, impulses from the environment or from their own body, not hearing some subtle things, not hearing something that can bring them to higher pleasure, something that can bring them to higher comfort, something that can bring them to higher quality of life, how much people exercise self-sabotage in little things. And then years go by and they arrive to the catastrophe in their life in which they lose the skill of hearing their desires. And that's the nature. This is a huge foundation of this problem, that I don't know what I love. I can't hear what I love. The roots, of course, might be here. When a child was taught too much of self-repression to fit in for survival, the parent just conveyed to them their own survival strategy that worked for them. So we can't necessarily say that this parent is a monster. No, the parent conveyed the skill of survival for this child. And that paved the path to this mode of operation in which a child, for example, commodifies themselves, sacrifices themselves, learns to not hear their needs, because hearing your own needs is dangerous, because hearing your own needs requires you to be aggressive, as in sticking for your boundaries or pushing your boundaries outwards when you want to exercise leadership. No, you squeeze yourself. You don't hear yourself, because in this numbness to your own desires and needs lays safety. And you go year by year by year by year by year not voicing your needs, even to yourself, even when you're no longer under the parental control and you can start making your own judgments about life. This absence of skill of hearing yourself brings a person to this question: notorious midlife crisis, right? Is when typically, stereotypically, let's say, stereotypically, we would hear the stories about men suddenly buying a motorcycle, uh, ditching their familial roles and doing something crazy, something socially considered crazy. So these are notorious examples of people coming to this point that I lived my life inauthentically. But a lot of times it manifests quietly. People may start having this crisis earlier in life. Unfortunately, the earlier this problem is identified, the better the outlook, perhaps, and the more opportunities and the more time the person will have, perhaps, to enjoy their new mode of life if they actually act upon it. But the roots, yes, the roots are very simple. Let's see the chat, and then we'll continue. Okay, so Rami, so finding your path, is it for life, enlightenment, or work, or all together? It is, Rami. Are you new on my channel? We usually have this pyramid of creativity on top. Creativity is the most fulfilling, infinitely inspiring, infinitely invigorating property of human mind. Lies creativity. Then lies sexual drive. That's the second tier of the second tier of source of pleasure. And then lies our basic survival, food, safety, basic needs, fulfillment of basic needs. So creativity being in the forefront of our motivation complex, let's say. And finding your path is aligning with your creative skill, with your predisposition for certain talent or perhaps genius, in which you can develop a mastery of creativity, leadership, giving potential that will be associated with the infinite passage of energy, a very unleashed and free life experience that will be the driving force for everything that you experience in life. Sophisticated explanation, but this is the most perhaps comprehensive comprehensive way of answering your question. It is for everything, because in the forefront is always this creativity, this grand concept of creativity, leadership, and giving potential. But the human can be a giver, can be a leader only on their path, maximally aligned with their genetic inclinations. We cannot take, let's say, some super calm temperament. We cannot take a person with very, let's say, precise, very pedantic mind and make them very free as a, let's say, coach of extreme sports for children, requiring them to have some insane social skills, social stamina, and very impulsive, very like adrenaline addicted and a very fast mode of operation. So these will be a little bit mismatched path. So for a person with certain temperament and certain inclinations, the most optimal path shall be found. And that's where they will have the best outlook and the most ease, efficiency, pleasure, charge, and energy in life. What if, in the path to what I love, there are hurdles which are unavoidable and which you will have to sabotage your health for? That is an interesting question. Why do you need to sabotage your health for it? Is it truly unavoidable? I have no problems because I wear tight shoes. Sure. Still me? Hello? Yes, ignoring your actual desires and also intuition make them appear less and less to the point you have an identity breakdown as to who you are. Exactly. Good summary. So desires and needs fulfilled at a young age under parents will kill your personality. Why? No. Why? Thanks for letting us know. It was beautiful for you to share such a wonderful anecdote. Yes, sexual desire is right on top of everyone's list. No, it's not. It's not. I wouldn't say so. Most people, if you look, most people are driven by pursuit of security primarily because the world is not inherently safe. So for most people, it's still not satisfied desire, security. And you will see that especially like, even if you look at the motivation, what motivates younger girls to go for wealthy, older guys, they're looking for security, they're looking for safety. And that is, again, let's just observe your friends, observe people around you. Mostly they will be driven not by sexual desire, they will be driven by safety, by security, pursuit of security. I have desired $1 million since I was 10. I got all but not the basic money, and got all the skills, so what is missing? $1 million, Rami, you see, we have a concept here of close-ended goals and open-ended goals. $1 million is a close-ended goal. Some example that is related to my passions is as if I, a clothing designer, was desiring to have a sewing machine, just sewing machine. I never desired to have sewing machine for the sake of having a sewing machine. When I think of a sewing machine, it's a door for me to some insane world of creative possibilities. So it's an instrumental goal. So is money. Money is an instrumental goal. It's a certain sum of money is a close-ended goal that opens the doors to open-ended goals. When I have sewing machine, I can unleash my imagination and start coming up with unlimited number of creative desires, of creative goals. It opens the door for my creativity. So is money. Do you have a structure to assimilate this $1 million? Do you have a project in mind to experience this $1 million? When it is just a close-ended goal, you don't have any motivation. Your mind will not be working. Our mind, our fantasy, our curiosity, they are always in motion. And when you stop this motion with a close-ended goal, then this motion stops before you come to this goal. Because for your mind, it's a pointless thing. It doesn't stimulate further growth. It doesn't stimulate further movement. For your mind, this is when life ends. So when you desire this $1 million, without seeing the horizon past that $1 million, for your mind, this is life stopped there. So you will be infinitely protected from that. So the first and foremost thing is to build in your mind first and then physically build a structure for how you're going to use this $1 million. What is this investment for? Make a business plan. What exactly will this $1 million be allocated towards? Such that life continues past it, such that it doesn't become something that ends life in your mind. A personality will always exist, but they certainly can be influenced by environment. Emotions, however, can be dulled. Yes. That's associated with having to analyze which one is better than the other, sure. Impulsive. Because the goal is larger than life. Circuit Bard, Thank you. I hope you're as well. Agree with Ro about closed-ended goals. The goal is to give and be an instrument of change on a scale that it ceases to be personal. I want to expand myself to give to my community, humanity. I want to die tired and satisfied. I want to consume and utilize knowledge at an exponential rate, so much that anything just becomes a matter of focus and time. That's GCA. Yes, it's a very understandable, very relatable goal. And I assume that you already do at least a fraction of what you envision, because at some point it becomes kind of inevitable. When you accumulate a lot of energy, you feel urged to start finding outlet for it. When you accumulate a lot of information, you are going to start finding outlet for it. When you accumulate a lot of resources, you want to find outlet for it. So that's a totally relatable thing and very important. And that's again what defines leadership, what defines creatorship. And that's the peak performance of our brain. That's the most, I think, the most fulfilling thing. And that to feel that, you see, sometimes people substitute it with the concept of sacrifice. Remember, we had a live stream about sacrifice versus devotion. When we talk about sacrifice in this context, this is what I depict very graphically as a person just throws parts of themselves in this bloody bucket and sits and waits, entitled for some payback from the environment. And this is when the person is away from their path. This is when the person is not on their authentic path. When you are in your authentic path, with full clarity, with full alignment, when you can dissolve the concept of when you can dissolve your ego because it becomes irrelevant, when every concept about yourself becomes irrelevant, when you don't need to think about it, you are on the path in which you're just a perfect conductor, like a perfect piece of fiber optic cable, let's say, or a perfect conductor, electrical conductor, then you are going to be energized from it. There will be very little loss. There will be very little damage. There will be such an easy passage of energy that, and also sometimes surplus of energy after you have given something, because you're conducting something. You're not just ripping pieces off you and sacrificing them. No, you're opening yourself to conduct. Hence, you're opening yourself to the infinite energy. And that is when you don't need to hold on to concepts of ego, concepts about yourself. All you're going to be working on is how to optimize your own system and the system that you build to give more. Optimize it for passage. What a nice goal. Cool. What's your take on karma? Do you believe what we get in life is what our karma is from our past life? No, I don't. Sapiosexual, we're not believing here. We're either feeling or knowing here, okay? That's the general notion that I kind of tend to adhere to. Working hours and hours, skipping meals, talking to people in extreme hot and cold, traveling a lot. If it is, again, GCA, this is important to be mindful of where it begins to wear down your system. Because remember in our pyramid how creativity, giving, leadership can charge you to actually take better care for yourself, because you start understanding that you are responsible for the system that you're building. You know that to hail better, you need to take care for yourself. A good example would be a lot of mothers go through some crisis. For example, a mother can be infinitely exhausted. And motherhood often is ultimate giving. A mother sometimes will take on a lot of roles and roll with them until the breaking point. She will be doing all the house chores, she will be doing all the taking care of the kids, she will be ignoring the sleep, she will try to take care of other relatives, she will try to also appeal to society, she will also try to cater to her husband, she will be performing everything on the planet until the breaking point. Being very heavily motivated by something. But then at some point, because she's so responsible, there will be a crisis in which she'll realize that I can no longer continue taking care of something that I'm fully responsible for without looking after myself. So herself becomes a priority, maintenance of the system that is created to take care for others. So that's where the balance lies. That's where it would be helpful to build a structure. That's what I found for myself. So this is coming from personal experience as well. Building a structure in which you have certain regimented protocol of helping others. When you have regimented protocol based on how much it is hygienic, healthy for you to give. Because the moment you are responsible for the moment you have mental, informational, resource-based offspring, you are no longer responsible for just yourself. You are responsible for maintaining the structure, maintaining the system, which renders it not responsible to forgo self-care, because you are the conductor. I know who you are. The universe has brought us together. Let me love you. Cheeseburger, you are allowed. my number one favorite channel now for the first time because of you all. Rami, thank you so much. I'm very happy that you discovered it. Hippocrates, thank you. Her, you, and everyone, the whole thing. Wonderful, Rami. I'm very happy that you're enjoying it. Yeah, there's a good community. Yes, Hippocrates base is totally based right now. We have wonderful community, and yeah, you will see. People will keep joining probably in and out. So yes, you described exactly what I want to feel. Becoming the absolute efficient egoless instrument, where my instinct does things that I consciously wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Yeah, it's an alignment of body, emotions, instinct, rational, intuitive. So that's pretty much the amalgam of the tantric experience, tantric life experience. Finding this balance. Of course, life will always be challenging. Life will always be hitting you to provoke you to develop. Life will always be trying to break this alignment. But you have tools to recollect and be again on your path. So we were talking about this path, and we're talking about this habit of self-sabotage, self-betrayal. Let's say self-betrayal. What is the first recommendation that I would give to the person who comes to me to find their path? I would, of course, survey them on the matter of how they treat themselves in their daily life. How they treat their sleep. Is there a day in the week in which they can allow themselves to sleep just as much as they want? Or do they rest always with the thought on the back of their mind that maybe they're not worthy of rest? When they come home after work, what do they do with their spare time? Do they actually rest, or do they actually invest time in something pleasurable? Or do they just keep themselves distracted, numb? I would ask this person whether they feel their body. I would scan, I would ask questions. How does your forearm feel? The back of your neck, the front of your neck, the chest, the belly. Are there any nodules inside of your body on the way of breathing? Are you breathing like this? Are you breathing with your belly? Are you breathing all the way? Or are you in general even hyperventilating, just sitting from anxiety? I would be asking these questions. Connection with the body, connection with the needs. I would ask a person, the shoes you're wearing or the socks you're wearing, are they comfortable? The pants you're wearing, are they comfortable? Do you wear like a bra, maybe, if it sticks in your body? Do you feel it? Because your body was feeling it at some point. You just ignored it, and you learned to ignore it. So the first step would be to go through the body and identify where the person is not lost connection, where there is burned circuit. The prescription that I would give to this person, of course, would be full body breathing practice. Absolutely. To start lighting up responsivity throughout the body. To start teaching person how to rest and sleep deeply. Because without proper rest, the person will never arrive at the point of finding their path. Because they have skewed idea for themselves. Out of all the sensors, out of all the signaling systems the body has, they're probably aware of just a few. So their body and their mind speak to them in the language of pain and survival. And this is not the place where we're finding our path. But sometimes being aware of one's own body and surroundings may be scary and overwhelming, of course. It can be. That's how we start slowly. We start introducing it with control. We start introducing it with very easy practices and with relaxation. Because connecting with a tense body may be a disturbing experience. Connecting with a relaxed body is a totally different story. So that's why we combine it inside of the relaxation practices. We're combining it with practices that induce and elicit pleasure in the body. So that's the artistry there in this work. Then what will be the next step in working with the client who comes with a demand to find their path? After we have learned to connect with the body, relaxed body, identified how body can actually communicate in more subtle, more pleasure-driven way to the person, to their awareness. We then begin the work on the archetypes. We then start discovering more energy resources. And we start looking at what sits in the unconscious plane. What are the things in our mentality that we prohibit ourselves? Just as our body became numb, just as our connection of our awareness and the body broke, forcing the person to only feel pain and operate in survival, in our psyche there is same process. Back there and then, perhaps, this little child squeezed themselves in some limiting role that was possible to survive within. So in this psychological survival role, the person tries to live a life of many experiences. A person tries to live a life that would bring them fulfillment. But this role is inherently deficient. This role was intended for survival in this specific system. Not for survival and living well in the big world. Not for experiencing vast amount of experiences. Not for living through pleasure. Not for rejoicing. not for connecting with people, not for embracing the spontaneity. These things were not developed, they were forbidden. So what do we do next? After we have connected with the body, we keep this work on the background, but we also work with the archetypes. We connect with the work on the facets of personality to find those dormant resources that the person was born with. Our psyche is far more complex than sometimes it may appear. Our psyche has much more resource than an average person uses on a daily basis. We start discovering those. In parallel, however, we also work with aggression. We work with emotional flexibility. We introduce more dynamic, more expressive work with the body. We allow our body to unleash, we allow our body to conduct energies that are normally not accessible on the daily life, because there and then they started being prohibited. Stomping, screaming, roaring, hitting the air, assuming scary poses, everything that is associated in an animal, with standing our ground, with protecting the boundaries, with protecting our territory, with making ourselves big, with making ourselves capable, powerful, roaring. We start uncovering that. And the work with archetypes. Maybe I can allow myself far more roles in my daily life than was available to me. We also connect the practices of purposeful pleasure, joy. It's a skill. Here, a person was driven by stress survival. Hence, if we have 16 hours in a day, if for these 16 hours a person exercised mostly stress and survival, they did not have time to exercise joy, peace, and pleasure. If, for example, 5% of your life you're experiencing joy, peace, and pleasure, and the rest of the time you're experiencing self-betrayal, disappointment, anger, suppressed aggression, chronic stress, you are exercising those adaptations. You are bio-robot. Whatever you are exercising, you're programming it every single day. Every single moment your bio-robot is being programmed. But that pleasure, joy, relaxation, laughter are not being exercised. So we're introducing these practices of purposeful work with feelings and emotions, expanding this domain of joy, pleasure, relaxation to balance this overwhelming domain of stress, fear, suppressed aggression, doom and gloom. No, we need to bring balance. We need to learn the skill, and that's a skill. So we introduce those practices. And then, depending on the story of the person, we're going to work on more detailed, already more individualized practices, a little bit deeper practices, when the brain already rewires, such that we can actually visualize the path. There are fantastic tantric practices in which you can, inside of the guided meditation, personalized life guided meditation, you can find your path, character of your path. You can find the obstacles, how to remove the obstacles, or how to outgrow the obstacles. You can find emotional resource inside of you to accomplish certain goals. You can potentiate yourself to be able to take the desired necessary action. You can find the authentic aspiration of yours. You can find what you truly want inside of the meditation, in the world of your own symbology that's organic to your psyche. And this is what I mean by that individual work, by more sophisticated work. When your psyche is primed to actually dive into that. And then there's fantastic practice that's called destiny healing that allows us to rewrite the existing neuron connection of this concept, of this authoritative figure that prohibited you. You can change it, for example, with having an authoritative protective figure that was giving you ultimate security, that was giving you permission to live. And this is a very beautiful, profound, long meditation guided practice. So with that thing, you can actually rewrite even this early experience that sits at the foundation of your struggle. My mother sat with me when I was a child and explained almost like you, a physicist, they expect no more or less. Sapiosexual wants to move on to some other subject. G2000, hello, beautiful, looking great today. Thank you so much for your compliment. Hippocrates is enjoying it. Or do you enjoy sapiosexual's proposal to draw a better sketch? What's your idea of better sketch, sapiosexual? And which subject do you want to move on to? Propose. We kind of are done with our lecture part, so now I'm open to your stories and the working on case studies. Used to have a type of instinct-based learning where I didn't really engage my conscious self, or at least I didn't feel like it, and would be able to read and retain pages of analytical content. Quick AF. That's an interesting one, GCA. I will speculate that I might understand what you're saying. For instance, I have this little reading book. And sometimes I do this practice of just reading, just like reading, without thinking. And then I do very focused reading, where I'm actually thinking about every word, about everything, what it means, about grammar and everything. I can totally see how these are two different ways of acquisition of information. And I do both. I think exploiting both is a very efficient strategy for learning, as opposed to using one or the other. Because I think utilizing this throughput, Wayne, hello, nice to see you back. Utilizing this route that bypasses your active analytical processor, I think has some benefit for sure. But I can't say that I have the same super skill of actually absorbing and internalizing this content. I still need to do a combination. I need to do thorough reading, very thoughtful, very purposeful processing reading. Let me grab my tea and I'll be back. Пес мой, чему песик? Носик песик. Oh my god, I need to trim my eyebrows. Hello from the arse end of England. Hello, John Horse. Welcome. Let's talk about tantric practices you were advocating on. As far as my knowledge goes, there are yogas one should not indulge with if one doesn't have much knowledge on to start with. Which ones? I'm not aware of those. I mean, there are, of course, yogic genres, likewise. Tantra coach, Tantra therapist. We're talking about different cool things. I also have, I'm a bachelor in physics, PhD in engineering, and worked at the corporation as a consultant, research consultant. So that's my background. Welcome, like the stream, subscribe to my channel. It's pretty interesting. We have wonderful community here. So you will see. Feel free to meet others and let's chat. So, tantric practice you advocate as far as my yogas, one should not sapiosexual. To answer your question, perhaps would be advised, the practices I would advise against would be the practices that you would feel natural barrier to, because there are practices that a person in deep depression would not be able to perform without much aversion. There will be a block in the mind that will prevent you from performing certain things. They will feel wrong. You will feel so insanely exhausted that your mind will not allow you to go there. That's why tantric path is tantric training is very step by step. It is a very calculated process that mandates that the person goes through stages of preparation. I worked with people who were so depressed and exhausted that they were not able to entertain a practice of visualization. They literally threw tantrum. They could not do that. And this is the moment when we just don't push. We can't go there. So that's one thing that is a natural impediment on practice. That's when we're not going in, if that makes sense. And that's where preparation matters. It's not some super sacred knowledge. You know, there could be an impression that it is just some esoteric knowledge that is so hidden and that's so incomprehensible to a general audience, to some, I don't know, Bob Jones, that they need to study for many years to be able to develop such a flexibility and mental prowess that they are capable of fathoming those practices. It's not like that. We are dealing with psychological resource. If I bring you on a journey right now, right off the bat, I bring you on a journey of 2 hours of heavy visualization meditation, journeying through your psyche, I don't think that it will be ethical. I don't think that it will be a proper approach, because it can have a pretty negative effect afterwards, in the moment and afterwards. This is why when we talk about Tantra, we talk about system. I also lead, by the way, there are free webinars, free closed webinars for people who attend my live streams, who are aware of certain things, in which we try practices. Together we try practices. There's usually tiny groups. We gather and we try things. I'm not going to take a person with zero experience in meditation, a person in deep life crisis somewhere, tired, depressed, with anxiety. I'm not going to take that person and suggest to them that they go on some heavy meditation with these many concepts. One of my brilliant works was with a person with intrusive thoughts. To get to the point when we were able to go on meditation, when we were able to start finding the method for getting out of that condition, we spent a few weeks of very soft work. We're doing a lot of inquisitive work. We're doing a lot of work on relaxation. We were doing a lot of work on readapting the psyche, just a little bit. I needed to craft for myself as a therapist, as Tantra therapist, I needed to create a domain in which I'm allowed inside, where I'm allowed to work. Because the person comes to such people in crisis often. Unless, of course, it's let's say like, perhaps something sexual related, or some dissatisfaction with relationship, or some higher level pursuit of quality of life or relationships. If it is a person in crisis, there is rarely a domain for me to just come with my proposals. Let's try this, let's try that. No, I need to create that domain first. We need to build this relationship. We need to build this safety. We need to build this resource, find resource inside of the psyche. Because those things, if people who attend my webinars, we go through safety measures. Safety measures are that we are not pushing through practices and we're resting after practice, because the tantric practices are intense. Are they esoteric? Are they some magical and you need to be, I don't know, 33rd degree of some tantric initiation to practice them? No. It's all about whether you have psychological resource and whether you will benefit or harm through those practices based on the initial conditions. Like all the connections that needed to be made were made automatically in my head as soon as I read the next word and the next word. And like when I used to close my eyes, sort of knowledge graph would be visible. Okay. I would want to ask you if quantum entanglement is proven to transfer info to any place in the universe, would our thoughts are internal? Thoughts, I don't think that thoughts are. Because we talk about energy. When we talk about any information transfer, we're talking about energy transfer. And thought is not a formulated energy. It's not an energy. We perceive our thought as some formulaic thing. Thought for the rest of the world is electric impulse that has no form, no verbal, no imaginary form. It only has an energetic impulse to produce the thought. So that's why the thought as a form is nothing for the external world. Remember, by the way, somebody was saying that dogs can read the thoughts. We conducted the experiment with my dog, who is quite above average intelligence. And my dog was not able to read my thoughts. My dog was only able to understand what I was thinking after I verbalized it. So we're discussing finding path to our best self, doing what we actually desire without having to sabotage ourselves, and how different individuals would respond to tantric practices. Thank you so much, DCA. Do you believe in quantum immortality? I don't believe I know or feel. No, I don't know and I don't feel any of that. So that was my whole point. One should be aware of where these meditative stages can take them. These esoteric or occult are dangers of not taking precautions. Psychosexual, did you actually hear what I said? I said that there's nothing esoteric or occult to them. Unless you think that your own psyche is occult or esoteric, but that's another conversation. There's nothing occult or esoteric. It's just how much resource you have. So you don't summon anything. You don't need to draw a chalk circle around you when you're doing a meditation to protect the world from, I don't know, whatever you're going to summon through that. It doesn't work like that. It's just that there is a natural sequence of events and hygiene that needs to be satisfied for achieving best results without causing aversion in the person. Because even some breathing practices can cause some discomfort. Yes, when you first do them, they may cause discomfort. Try fire breathing, for example. Fire breathing is used to activate the sympathetic nervous system a little bit, to activate a person. But if you do fire breathing for the first time, you may feel some discomfort. That is best if communicated to someone, whether you keep pushing through discomfort, or maybe you're changing the tempo. What do you do with that? You need to know about all of that finesse. Because some fanatic person who does this practice without understanding what is happening is going to just breathe through, put themselves in some, I don't know, soft trance for no reason at all. Maybe get scared, get anxiety from that, and hello. But in my opinion, some thoughts, let's say mantra, when repeated day in and day out, undergo sort of constructive interference, and that energy vibration becomes very strong and begins to manifest in real life through your actions. Because in my opinion, how I view it is that it creates inevitability of you acting upon it. Because remember, any event is, we were drawing this thing, any event is the physical work performed in the real world. It's investment of energy. So when we are willing, when we are bringing it to the world, either through a word, sometimes of course we can tell someone, and actually a wonderful method that I use in my life, and that works so beautifully. You tell people what you want, like, I want this. And you bring it to them with very high positive energy, very contagious, cheerful energy of desire, and people start cooperating because they sense leadership in you. When you claim your desires, you effectively become a leader in what you envision for yourself. And through that, people assemble around you and they're willing to contribute to what you desire if you have a vision that is very contagious and cheerful and uplifting. So voicing even your desire is very helpful. And that is the influence on the world, actual influence on the world. If it's not involved with esoteric, why would you even call it the tantric practices? How should I call it? Do you have any other suggestions? Do you want to do some rebranding? Let's do rebranding. She's got a little tan, yes. Let me make more yellow light, such that to emphasize my tan. No, maybe a little bit less yellow, like this. Could you describe what you mean by soft trance? GCA, oh my god, it was 2017. For the first time, I tried fire breathing, couple of hati. And I went absolutely nuts on it. I went with the highest tempo possible. And I kept doing it. I kept pushing through. I got lightheaded first from it. And then I kept pushing. And then my eyes, I don't remember if my eyes were closed or not. Everything started turning into pink fog in my eyes. And it was, I felt like I was drifting somewhere. So I just stopped and I snapped out of it. But yeah, some like soft trance states can happen because your brain is not accustomed to certain gas flow. Your brain is accustomed to normal breathing rate, your certain like gas exchange rate. And when you start either starving it of oxygen or changing the ratio of gases because of the style of breathing you are currently experiencing, that can change the way your brain compiles reality. So Reading needs a catalyst, but if I can grab electronics and translate without negative entanglement, we can read it through a medium or software. The radio waves transfer these sounds in the universe. Maybe. Kurt. Ruben, good evening. Nice to see you. Hello. Yes, we can call it a raw form of life practices. Sure, let's do it as a human renaissance, but you see, Tantra is something that is well established. So if I say that it's tantric practice, people will likely know what I mean. I am the content creator with just over 7,100 followers, who is only in the beginning, perhaps, of their media journey and media exposure. I have a program, Human Renaissance. Of course, I can label everything as Human Renaissance practices, but it will perhaps be a little bit disrespectful to the tradition of Tantra, and at the same time, perhaps it will be less clear what it means for some people, because people have at least some stereotype of perception of what Tantra is. They have some, even if it's wrong understanding of it, it's still some starting point. It can start a conversation. If I tell them that I have a political party, a human renaissance, with certain practices, I'm just joking about political party. There was some context in the last stream. If I say that it's human renaissance practices, then people will be like, oh, did you invent them? And I will be like, no, they're actually tantric practice. Ah, okay, why do you call it this and this? So it's just a lot of confusion. Ruben, thank you so much for your gift. What I mean by manifesting in real life is not reactively, but things that would otherwise be a high probability of going opposite of my way tend to lean towards probabilities favorable to me. That's also, you see, what you can comfortably declare as something organic and desirable for you is likely having a precedent, is likely having some signs that this thing is possible. So you're just attuning to something that is perhaps very natural for you to happen. But just as we always deal with some opposing forces, balancing opposing force, or encountering a choice between opposing forces or actions or outcomes in life, you're just focusing on one of them and choosing to focus on them without much distraction. I'm always going to be a skeptic, so I love to take on the role of a skeptic and debunk everything, because I don't know, I find it a more stable outlook when I debunk statements and turn them into, they kind of make them more rational and explainable, as opposed to blowing them up into more esoteric plane. By fire breathing, do you mean Agni Pranayama, Kapalabhati? Kapalabhati, yeah, this one. This pump. They use Tantra as Kama Sutra. No, Tantra is it's a little bit not that. It's a little bit not Kama Sutra, so not a little bit even. Tantra is a synonym of liberation. Tantra is synonym. Some people call it yoga of love, but love also not just in a I don't know, like just a couple love, romantic love. No, it's yoga of love is creatorship love, big love. It can take a more extensive definition. With it being a science or a system of methods and tools that allow to connect your physical, emotional, rational, intuitive into one, and lead you on the path of very stable yet exciting, joy-forward life. So we can come up with a lot of definitions for this system. But it is not Kama Sutra. It is not something esoteric. It is just the methods of how we can work with our mind and body to find this balance in which we all live in this authentic alliance between different components of ours and act accordingly. We purify our path. You can think of it as, imagine there is a stream, river of life, or the stream of life, and there are rocks on the way of it that are metaphor, let's say, for some traumatic adaptations that are a result of living unauthentically. We clear those rocks and allow this river to flow. Or you can also think of another metaphor, that with Tantra you build a boat or raft that allows you to flow in the way, or even surfboard that allows you to swim in the sea or the river of life without feeling scared, without feeling defeated by it. That's another way of looking at it. Many things. And then sexuality is the fourth chapter. The tantric sex is the fourth out of 4 chapters of tantric preparation. Before we get to that point, we need to figure things out in our own life before we start throwing ourselves at somebody else. Because how many people use intimacy? Think about it. Sex, the purpose of sex, besides reproduction that happens very infrequently as a result of sex, most sex that people have is intended for pleasure, ideally. That's the goal of intimacy. But when sex becomes a part of life of an average human in the modern world, it suddenly turns into the landfill. Sexuality of a human becomes something that they exploit for the dominant emotion or the dominant process that exists in their life. Sexuality can be transactional. It can be for power control, for power grab. It can be for control. It can be for seeking security. It can be for coping with trauma. It can be for fixing anxiety or dumping anxiety. It can be something, an attempt to fill the void. It can be an attempt to sublimate some dissatisfaction in life. Sexuality starts being skewed when it is, in its pure form, it is the process intended for pleasure, physical and mental pleasure and intimacy. It's something insanely beautiful. It can be something insanely beautiful, but in the context of perverted, very limited, very anxious, stressful, broken life, it starts being anything but pleasure and joy. If sexuality remained pleasure and joy, if people had culture of pleasure and joy, would there be so much sexual dysfunction? Would there be couples without intimacy? No, because if pleasure and joy and body culture were a part of life, that were normal to cherish, that were normal to develop, that were normal to maintain, that were normal to focus and prioritize on. People would have sexuality that is also living in that domain. But instead, humans developed a system in which a human becomes miserable, and then they said that suffering is not even the part of life, but is the fundamental part of life. and they made it a currency, such that human almost cannot have and it doesn't have permission, internal permission, to feel joy without thinking of suffering. Most humans purchase joy with suffering. They cannot cleanly experience joy and pleasure. There's often this detour through suffering, and that's what depreciates joy and pleasure, because it becomes too scary to undergo another act of suffering to get this joy and pleasure. So humans just choose gray, sad life because it becomes too scary, because suffering is often in the foundation of people's lives, unfortunately. So when we change this system, when we change this paradigm, when we change this background of life and learn different methods, only then we're returning to our sexuality, and we can look at it with the new eyes, with the new optics. When we build the framework of life based on joy, pleasure, that are just here, without any detour, without any anxiety or needing to find permission or needing to earn it. No, we just learn the method how to create joy, how to create pleasure. And we think of sexuality at that point, when we know how we can do it, we think of sexuality as, okay, I want sexuality to be another area in which I can experience joy and pleasure. And you're not approaching it anymore through any other means. After you have learned this lifestyle, you're not going to be using your sexuality and your body to harvest some crazy things. You're not going to subject your body to this toxicity that often exists in sexual life of people. It's a wonderful thing, one wonderful simple idea that you need to arrive to first. The idea of, this is for my joy and pleasure. And you will internalize this idea. And that's what heals your sexuality as well. Poo poo poo. Hi, beautiful. I'm sorry I've been busy trying to look for work in the Union District. It's very difficult, ups and downs, but I'll manage to find something. Do you still love me? Sorry, I'm off the topic. Oh, yeah, Kapalapati will do that to you. That's why we have counter practices like Shitali, Shitkari, that extinguish the heat and stop it from harming the practitioner. The yoga is a complete set. Yes, GCA, thank you. Do you give live sessions to people where you practice real time? If yes, then where it's conducted? Sapiosexual, email me please if you want to attend. I recommend that you watch my other live streams. Please email me. Where can I write? Let's erase here. And I will... Oh, by the way, no, probably not. Don't want to do that. Info at raw form of life.com. This is my email. Okay? Email me that you want to attend the workshop. Okay? And we can talk about it. Info at rawformoflife.com. Thank you, Kurt. Yoga has complementary practice for each practice. Also, I think Tantra, at least the highest form, in fact, is esoteric. It starts off based on some logic and ends up being based on experience only. If you want to word esotericism as experience, then okay. Esoteric, you see, I was thinking, Now, when people think about some rituals, some crazy practices, oftentimes there is something that is hidden from public, something that is socially unacceptable, something that is so crazy and mind-blowing and weird, something so out of the ordinary, involving some practices with actual magic, where we are having some, I know, some like green smoke, and from this green smoke, some, I know, some dragon shows up and communicates to us some fortune telling from the future and whatnot. Thank you so much, guys, for your contributions. It's not that. So that's what I mean by esotericism uh, in its conventional sense. Esotericism as an personal experience isn't something that you can only get from some depths of your mind, something that is in some hidden plane. Okay, that makes sense. Boom. If I'm suffering from anxiety, there isn't a herd of wild horses that could pull my head in the direction of woman's butt in pieces. That's Hippocrates. Yeah, that's a good comment. That's a good comment on sexuality, and yes, how overall state of your life, the overall mood of your life defines your relationships with your sexuality. In a lot of cases, indeed, our body just turns off dysfunction. It just communicates to us, sometimes in the voice that is not comprehended by our mind, that's accustomed to self-betrayal, of course. But our mind and body can communicate to us that no, don't, just don't. It's not the good moment. With tense muscles, with restriction of blood flow, with our mind navigating everywhere, or being in some tunnel. So that's one of the defense mechanisms. And I like, women love to go against this natural defense and try to power through, which leads to absolutely crushing consequences. Beyond logic, GCA. Okay, you added to your message, I understood. I love it when you talk dirty. Just kidding. That was a great way of explaining it. Thank you so much. Roland Kovacs. I like your intellectual intelligence. I will stay tuned for future topics. Welcome, like the stream, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next streams. Also think about the questions that you may ask to a Tantra coach, Tantra therapist. Good Sir Fry, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Ruben, thank you for gifts. So go through the chakras, respect the mind, and respect the body. That's is it your conclusion from today's speech? Do you know I've always had a big crush on the way you speak, you talk, and just the way you. I derived so, but I don't think that it always was. I think it just started a couple of weeks ago, Emma. Cool, thanks. We'll send you an email. Yes, sometimes they go into the spam, so don't take it personally if I don't respond right away. Just in the next stream, if you send me an email and you see that there is no response, tell me. I will check the spam, I guess, and we'll work from there. Maybe not that type of esoteric, but maybe something that happens that by all general physics and math-related axioms would seem impossible. Pooh. I don't know what to say to that. Of course, not everything is in the rational plane, right? So, hey teacher, the great own, welcome back. My day is made when I see your beautiful face. Please take care of yourself. See you in the next time. G2000, thank you so much for stopping by and for your wonderful, kind comments. No, it's deeper. I was replying to your explanation of my question and your answer. Your thoughts are very deep. Boo boo boo. Well, it's interesting that you brought up chakras because we didn't talk about them necessarily. Respect the mind, respect the body, that's a very good thing because, there is love yourself. Love yourself. Who knows what it is to love yourself? Respect is a far more clear, I think, term. It has a little bit clear instructions encrypted in it. So I love that you brought up respect specifically. Because respect is understanding the function. Respect is understanding the needs and fulfilling them. Respect is allowing space for something. When we love, love can be imagined as crushing into someone, squeezing into them, pouring all of the love. Depending on the temperament of the person, they can interpret the word love in very different ways. But respect is a very, how to say, like function and specifics oriented term. And it does create space. It does give us a more calm, more grounded instruction, understanding of how we treat the system. Okay, God, show your feet again. Oh my God. May I show you my hands? I don't want to put my feet up in the air. By the way, what's in principle so different between feet and hands? Same fingers, similar bone structure. What's so different? I actually need to bring my charger because my phone uses data. As you know, in my new apartment, I don't have Wi-Fi. So my phone uses data and my charge only lasts an hour and a half instead of 3 hours now. So let me grab a charging cord. Grab long charging cord. Where is it? I think it's in the bottom drawer. I hope it will stretch. I hope it should. Песик, я сейчас придумала. Benito, hello? Are we charging? Yes. So, no microphone. Okay. Respect agreed over love. As one thing I don't have problems with, I always love myself in the morning. Okay. Yeah, I wish you would visit India someday. You would have such an intense and deep experiences, like the sheer widening of horizons that would happen within a week. Oh my God. I'm a great tour guide. Thank you, DCA, for the invitation. Can't drink a cup of coffee with my feet. Some people have feet fetishes because they're hidden most of the time. It's the hidden element, I think. I don't know. I mean, people wear sandals. What's so hermetic about feet in that sense? Feet touch the ground, the dirt, so evolved to be relating to degradation taboo. They're dirty. In Asia, they don't have feet fetish. All of them don't wear shoes. 66 says, Anna, you're beautiful in sweatpants. Just saying. Oh, they're actually not sweatpants. I actually made these. You see, they are pretty cool. Whoop. They're linen. And they have this apron thing that I super love. My weekend was, what was I doing on the weekend? Thanks so much for your contribution. My weekend, what was I doing on my weekend? I think I was just on the beach actually. Perfect, thank you. Yeah, it's funny how food fetishists, they are dominating sometimes the live streams. It's so interesting. Are you still in Russia? No, I'm not in Russia. I am in Europe. I haven't been to Russia since 2018. They're not overalls. They're kind of styled to insinuate the overalls. They were inspired by overalls, but it's just an apron that folds over. Here's a question. Who do you go to if you want insight? Good question. Insight. I go if it's some difficult thing that it is up to me to find a solution to. I go. Sometimes I can ask my man to start a journeying meditation for me, such that he helps me to enter the visualization and then just like be present for me to just go through it. But I usually, it's hard for me to start on my own, so I ask for help and then I just go and see what's in my mind. Otherwise, I don't know, some conversation, sometimes actually just letting the steam out helps to gain an insight. Sometimes the insight is behind the wall of some emotional buildup that you accumulated. So just need to dump anxiety, dump those emotions, and here's your insight. The Great Tone makes a claim that they are all here to suffer. I hope you are not here in my stream to suffer. So glad that was insight. Heard something else. Ay ay ay. Ay ay ay. But yeah, so it's if it is something totally up to me to figure out, there are two big methods that I employ. One is I put myself in the same journey meditation that I put my clients on. But I kind of like build this observation observer that I can add to this place, while at the same time experiencing the process. But again, it's difficult for me to start, so I ask for assistance to get me started. You know how Kiva and GCA were in the meditation workshop, how we started with induce a space, then we envision this big juicy bright strawberry, then we move the strawberry up and down. So we do this little warm up, then we go to the right, we go to the left, and we're observing what's revealing there. So we're doing this warm up, and then when we are in this visualization space through some symbology, we are going and doing what our intention for the practice was, basically. Oh yeah, that's definitely, I have a lot of anger behind my wall, but I try not to bring my wall down because it will be chaotic. Nobody wants to see the other side of me. You can do it in privacy. There is hygiene of certain practices in which you can do it in private. Wow, your face is beautiful with your hair pulled back. Thank you so much. 66 Azan, just for you. With hair up is actually, I love how it looks, but there are hardly any methods to keep them up comfortably. Scrunchies are painful. I use clips like this, but they look kind of weird. So I don't know. And also pins, hair pins, they're also painful. When I did dancing when I was little, those hairpins just stabbing your scalp. Oh my god. Ruben is leaving. Thank you for staying for today's stream, and you also enjoy your night, Ruben. Rami, good night all, and Dr. Anastasia. Welcome to my channel, Rami, and I will see you in the next stream. So make sure to join if you want to attend the workshop. Also, email me for a form of life. We'll be announcing the dates and times soon. GC wants to deviate. Of course you can deviate. Thank you, Ima. Ooh, 66. Kiva endorses about our practices. I'm here with you to try to get understanding. The Great Tone, were you there for Satanic Well discussion? Salute is wood. Welcome. After veganism on teeth topic, after veganism I went and I think it was Ellie Phillips' doctor. She has this program of remineralizing teeth. I went with stannous fluoride toothpaste, and it effectively creates rust on the teeth. And that made my teeth, change color a little bit because I needed some super powerful solution after veganism for enamel restoration. So now I'm kind of using more, it's a little bit different toothpastes that don't produce rust. Did the snow kill the garden? Wayne? Not so much actually. Oh, the snow killed my little marigolds that I planted right before the frost. But I replanted them right before I left New York. I replanted them as seeds. So I think they will survive. Cold, if anything, would help to stratify them, I would imagine. Thank you so much for asking that. No, I missed the discussion. The Great Tone missed the discussion on Satanic Well. We need to bring it back. Satanic Well, about suffering. Okay, so I wanted to ask, what differentiates a foundational research, like something that gets published in frontier journals and conferences, and something that ends up in some very niche corner of academia? What differentiates it in which plane? Methodology. What differentiates it in what? In what aspect of research? How is New York? How are the people mean out there? No. People are different everywhere. You flew from New York. I haven't been JFK in 36 years. I feel like in JFK there is permanent repairs going on. It's been 3 years since I flew out of JFK last time. And I think they still have the same repairs going on in the same area. It's crazy. And then because, teacher, what's the topic? The initial topic was finding your path. And you know this advice, just remember what you love doing as a child and just start doing it. So that's the topic. So JFK, yeah, it's wonderful, let's say. The path to TCA is insanely long, in insanely stuffy place with insanely narrow corridors, And it's just nuts. But maybe it will get better. I don't know. Like some people that you may have interacted with in academia, do they just stumble upon something foundational, or is the process of solving a problem? You see, I wasn't working in the foundational field. I was working in engineering. So I cannot tell you about the research that is for some, I don't know, some cosmic matters, for example. Even though I touched up on that. As a student, as a person who is a research assistant, you will kind of be looking into a bottom up approach rather than top down approach. So it's likely that you will be working on some piece, some fraction of the phenomenon, and then contributing to a larger scale thing. Even if you work on something, on some foundation, like fundamental physics, let's say. But in engineering, it is the process. In my work, there was both practical pursuits and there was some deep physics that I had very good paper drafted, but I graduated and I still feel this lack of accomplishment on it. But it was studying the mechanism of uh, some how to word it in non-esoteric way. There was an element of fundamental science that had practical implication and that I proved with both experiment and then with modeling. And it gives me such an unpleasant feeling inside that I left it behind without finishing it. Thank you, Emma. I really appreciate the way you value my content. Thank you so much. Glad you did. I literally have a draft. I literally have all the graphs and everything. But I just abandoned it because I left. It pisses me off so much. But I wanted to run other experiments. I wanted to verify my data because part of me I felt like I would like to replicate the study, but that would require funding. But that funding would not be based because the project ended. So there were some. Nah, I don't want to think about it. And what was the process of developing that model like? Well, there's modeling software that already has all physics encrypted in them. So you build layer structure, let's say, you emulate your experimental conditions, how this system, some electronic device sandwich will operate under different electrical conditions, and then we had several kinds of software for different kinds of models because we're working with quantum structures, so that required one type of models. Then worked with more large scale models for electrical performance of the devices. That required other kind of model. We had very powerful software for that. So you just build your structure within appropriate model and apply the experimental conditions, and then it computes. So there are algorithms. Did you verify with experiment first, or did you conjecture and model first? You first draft some simple structure to verify the model based on some paper, let's say paper structure, some textbook structure, textbook device, and then you start increasing complexity. It's a leaping process. You do something, you do verify that your model works for the known structure from paper or textbook, then you increase complexity. You also can actually verify with certain papers as well. You match the performance with this data, then you can create your own device and measure your device and enhance the model, compare the two, make sure that your model now fits to the data that your device produced. So it's a leaping thing. No, it's okay. It's a lot of your life spent indoors compiling lists and building on top of someone else's work. That's a good summary. I will take a tea break now. At the same time, continue with audio learning. Kivушка? Yeah, we kind of detoured. GCA, don't be sorry, please. No, don't be sorry. It's no nostalgia, nothing. I manage my things like that pretty well because I understand the basically I feel full responsibility for what's happened and I know exactly why it happened. And if it was opportune to perform the study, if it was good to perform the study, I would already do it. But I haven't, which means that there's always some reason that was preventing me from doing that. Even though my perhaps vanity, my curiosity are not satisfied. So, I'm so glad you packed that in. What do you mean? I also will sip some tea. Маленький, ты пойдешь видео сниматься? Или ты спишь? Пойдешь видео сниматься? На ручки пойдешь? Like in limb research, people just applied they'll transform the KV cache problem and had their paper published and that was considered something foundational. Oh yeah, there's a ton of stuff like that. That, yeah, didn't do it. You deserve to be outdoors. Hippocrates, you read me so well. You read me so well. Because one of the parts why I left academia was that I've always felt like my energy was mismatched with what was needed. It was absolutely crazy for me to manage. I needed to be so much more active, and academia was not providing that. And industry was not providing that. It's just a different energy application, I think. With cheese. Все, батечка моя маленькая, ты пошел. Тебя обратно положить. Ну, пойдем обратно на диван. Все, не ругайся. It's like I'm a younger version of you, the same vanity and curiosity. Perhaps. In my academia phase. What's next? You know? I really don't know how I would manage it differently though. It does glue you to the chair for so long. And it's also hard to stop sometimes. With modeling, with data analysis, it's on the one hand really enticing. It's the activity that keeps you so entertained and then also at the same time keeps you up at night because you can't stop thinking about it. At the same time, you feel like your entire self is just burning inside. It's a crazy thing. I don't know. And it feels like there's no optimum point because you go to the corporate field. In corporate field, they have such a division of labor that you're going to work on some super narrow task that will be far from creative. But then the production volumes and creative, like not creative, but production volume, let's say, production volume is much higher. So you can try and do much more. At the same time, far less creatively. And within very narrow scope, likely. But in the academia, you're on low budget, usually. And with limited resources, very creatively, trying to do certain things. A lot of things will not ever hit the market. So it gradually also may lose kind of um, inspiration because a lot of the things they never hit the real world. And at the same time, you start suffering at some point from the lack of skill. Ben, hello. What help do you need? GCA, which year are you in, by the way? And what academic program are you in, if not a secret? I know that you're thinking in computer science, right? But are you in master's? Are you in PhD? That's good. Okay, so what time is it? A bachelor in technology, data science, AI, second year. Nice. Kiyushka, yes, it is. I still have an ambition to stream from the beach sometimes, you know? We have super phenomenal fig trees that are so beautiful. They stimulate my artistic instinct so much. And I'm thinking if I can find some place somewhere near under the fig tree to stream. It'd be so beautiful. The lighting there is just naturally supreme. But then I go to the beach and I feel like I want nothing else but just experience nature. So I haven't saturated myself with the experience of beach going and enjoying it to the extent when I can use it as a background for streaming. But at the same time, it would be so cool to share this experience. Because it is, what is a tantric practice if not just pure experience, you know? Can I fly you to my town? You have flying carpet or? Holy flip, you guys are all educated. Yeah. It's like college opened me to so much of possibilities and content. It's invigorating and exhausting. It is, indeed. Yeah, it's a little bit overwhelming experience in so many areas. Hey, what time do you stream? Do you do it every day? I do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tell me, by the way, sapiosexual, which time zone are you in? Fig trees are lovely trees. Yeah, the branches are so gorgeous. And they also look actually so erotic, you know, when the tree trunk separates, they have those like very feminine looking features sometimes. They hypnotize me. So what time do you stream? I used to do 5 p.m. New York time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But nowadays I will still try doing also 5 p.m. ish. And maybe I will expand my streaming hours as well. Central European summertime. So now it's almost 1 a.m., right? Like my days are super fast. Have to keep up with every tiny bit of new technology, code repositories, and research papers every next day. Have some new research paper. I can imagine within the field where you're at, it's nuts. Okay, so Central European would be. I would absolutely enjoy streaming sometime during the day. Absolutely, especially when the weather is bad. So Central, I'm also in the same time zone pretty much. I have only one fig tree. Oh, it already has figs on it too. Kiva, you live in paradise somewhere. So sapiosexual. Let's perhaps we'll meet a little bit earlier sometime. Maybe I'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for America, and then we'll do other days for European audience and Asian, such that we cover everything. Because it is kind of getting late. I slept in today though. But Hippocrates base, probably in the UK, right? Can we see your apartment, the Great Home? Requested. Well, it's not really picturesque apartment, to be honest. But this is the couch. There is a kitchen. It's I rented the furnished apartment for like some intermediate time this time because I was looking for something convenient such where I can start my living here, but then I will probably be looking for another place soon. So this apartment is kind of nuts. The sink leaks. The shower tub leaks. Either the washing machine or the sink in the bathroom leaks. The balcony leaks. I don't know what in this apartment doesn't leak, and the maintenance person is out of town. So I don't know. It's kind of it's big, but it needs repairs. It needs much better decor, much better furniture, much better everything, and I can't make any alterations here. So a lot of water leaks. Exactly, Kiva. Ireland, Hippocrates bases from Ireland. Wonderful. So you actually probably, will it be convenient for you if I stream during the day? I usually get off work at 11 p.m. We'll catch up surely some other day, or we'll get in touch via email. Wish you well and see you next time. Bonne nuit. Sexual, thank you. Yes, I will be looking for an email. And again, if I don't respond, come to the stream or comment, actually comment and say that you send it and it didn't work. Thank you, 66, for being with me tonight. By the way, Nastya, are there mountainous regions where you can go on a hike? Or some solitude and breathe that cool breeze and air and just close your eyes and just be. Yes. The Great Illness, sorry. Sure. I'll make time. Whatever. Sure. Amazing. That one. Hello. Yeah, we're going to sign off in 4 minutes. Let's do it this way. Because I want to keep some normal schedule such that I don't like start going to sleep again super late. Nice crib. I mean, It's functional, let's say, to some extent. It's also a huge kitchen, but doesn't have dishwashing machine, and the sink doesn't work. So when I have to be there, and also sink, by the way, clogs immediately. I don't know what to do with it. The sink is leaking on the back, so you need to be extremely careful washing the dishes to avoid splashing water anywhere. And then it clogs, and it's just nuts. It would be so reasonable if there was washing machine, but there is none. There are two fridges though, which is like, and curtains. How I want to replace these curtains if you only knew. My room back in New York was so gorgeous with that emerald wall. Design wise, it was such a comfort zone of mine. But it was so small, it was nuts. Here, different story. GCA is not sleeping. Mendoza, do you love me or whom? Somebody in the chat? Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for your time as well. 66 as a Nor. Do you use the two fridges? No, I don't. One is plenty. Okay, I'll say my goodbyes to all your students of life and your undergrad student, Kiva. Kiva is my master's student. Hasn't missed a single stream. Imagine. Another episode of Nice to Daily. The sink sucks, the curtain sucks, the showers. Brilliant, Nasty. Can you go over chakras another time? Absolutely. No, I'm an undergrad student of Nasty, yes. Thank you, my loves. Kiva is back. We're just saying that Kiva is my master student. No. You know how we were helping my older relatives to do the house remodeling? I kind of brought this inertia here, but I literally, I contacted the owner of this apartment, and like she's renting it remotely, and I was like, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this could be fixed, we could fix this, we could fix that. And she was like, whoa, stop. So I'm like, here, another thing here, shower doesn't work. And it works, but there's like a column with where shower hangs, and this thing where shower hangs is loose. So the shower just drops and pours water wherever. So you have to use it manually only. You cannot use it in a fixed position such that it pours over you. It's just impossible. So that's another peculiarity. And we were like, can we replace the shower? We're like, nope. It's just, yes, Kiva, you're a master's student. If only I had an education, I might understand some of it. Cockatry. Good night, 66. Oh. Does it go for princess? Okay, nice. I will be signing off. Please have a good night's sleep. Have a bright and cheerful next day. And just absolutely gorgeous experience tomorrow. And likewise to you. Thank you, GCA. And also with your upcoming exams. Enjoy. Time to move, Wayne says. In a little bit. Just a little bit to figure out things right now, get into the flow, and yes, for sure. Because, yeah, layers, everybody. Take care. Awesome. Now, if you like valedictorian, something I need to Google, from Pennsylvania. Boom, boom. Oh, good night, 66. Ooh. Not performative young, I swear. Let's do the review, by the way. Let's do the recap. Kivushka. Kivushka is preparing flower bombs. And we're going to do the review for those who stayed. So, today we've covered the topic of how to find your path. And I brought up this notorious example from Yaya, by the way, is eggs, as I learned. So, finding your path, and that notorious tip that's given to people, just remember what you loved as a child. However, if you think about it, the person ended up in the situation in which they do something that they absolutely hate, perhaps because back then and there, as a child, they were told that what they love doing is an absolute nonsense. And that perhaps got rooted in their mind as the antagonist of survival, as the antagonist of success in life. So they don't have a plausible concept of doing what they love in life. Instead, they believe or feel that what they love doing is something to be ashamed of, is something to hide, is something to never reveal to the world. They feel like if they embark on something that they love, they will be shamed, they will be judged, they will be uh, they will be scolded for. Everybody will laugh at that, and perhaps they will even die from hunger. They will die from misery, and they will hear those words from their parent. I told you you would fail. So this is a very scary path. That will prevent a person who arrived at this question in some point in life with a background of fatigue, depression, anxiety. They just cannot allow themselves to even think positively of the things they love doing as a child. Then another facet to this issue why a person cannot find their path is that if they are on a very common journey in life, very common journey for a lot of people, they likely develop the habit of not hearing their body. They likely have a habit of not hearing their emotional needs. They likely don't know what the proper hygiene for them is. The hygiene of communication, the hygiene of time management, the hygiene of body care. It's been a life of self-betrayal on all levels that brought them to this point of finding their path. Otherwise, how a person may not hear what they want to do. It's something that should be on the surface. What you want to do, really, what you want to do. The skill of wanting was not exercised. Or the skill of acting upon what you want was not exercised. So it's far more difficult question than just think what you wanted to do as a child. Just think about your childhood dream. Just think about what you love doing as a child. Because that what you love doing as a child is bound, on the one hand, it's bound to the domain of something highly negative, highly dangerous. And on the other hand, this self neglect in that area was also reinforced by years and years and years of self repression. So that's what makes this issue non trivial. And then we're talking about therapy of such people. The person comes to a Tantra therapist with this complex of things. They come because they cannot manage anymore. I cannot just do some professional orientation test with such a person to find their passion. We need to go deeper. We need to do a restorative work on their psyche and the body first. We need to find the resource. And the resource first comes in care for the body. And care not just when we talk about caring for the body, of course, primarily start with finding biochemical resource that is in food, in sleep. We regulate those basic needs. But then we need to go a little bit further. We need to start hearing and feeling our body on a more subtle plane. Because the person who arrives at this question, in their life, they communicate with themselves. Their body and their unconscious communicates with their consciousness through pain and through extreme distress, because other things are too subtle. They're too ignored, consistently ignored by this person. So there's no pathway to feel those subtle things where joyful, lively desires are found. So we work on the body, we start connecting with the body, relaxing it. We do a combination of relaxation and bringing contact, bringing awareness to the body, building this exchange pathway on the basis of pleasure, on the basis of relaxation. That releases a lot of resource. After we have connected with the body, we do a similar job with our psyche, expanding the range of emotions, expanding the range of basically making the portrait, the psychological portrait of a human, more 3D, more dimensional. We're making it more sophisticated. We're adding finesse to it. We're finding resource inside of the psyche now. We found resource inside of the body first. And now we're finding the resource in the psyche. How much resource we have unused inside of us. Humbert, I see you. Thank you so much. Like the stream, subscribe to my channel. We're doing the recap of today's topic. After we have done this wonderful work on archetypes, after we have looked and gathered all of the facets, forgotten facets, or numb sides of our personality, this is when we may also connect the work on aggression, expressiveness, to start having this flow where a person learns to feel their boundary, to make themselves less tolerant to things that they don't have, that they shouldn't tolerate, where they can release emotions, where they can voice their opinion, where they can voice their ideas. This is through this aggression, through this emotional release, person achieves a very important thing: prolific desires, leadership desires, creatorship desires. This is what we achieve at this stage. And then we go, when the person has this high resource, we go deeper. and we do some focused tantric practices. We do those meditations, those wonderful meditations that can be destiny healing meditation, this long practice, and very, very profound practice to perhaps change, not perhaps, surely change the concepts that are tied to my relationships with my deep rooted desires, where I allow myself deeply. I forgo of the authority. I forgo this authoritative voice. And I just allow with ease, I claim with ease, something that is so dear to me, something that's so natural, organic to me. And I can with ease take responsibility for it. So this is our tantric protocol for the person who comes with the request of finding their path. And of course, there's a lot of wonderful discoveries that can be made in each and particular case. So, Human Renaissance on my website, raw form of life, if you have an issue like that. Thank you, Kiushka. It's very pretty. Thank you so much, Kiva. I see you embraced today this sunshine color palette. That's so cool. Thank you so much. It reminds me of the marigolds that must grow and create those beautiful bushes in the garden that I left behind. But they must bloom. I have strong hope for that. Thank you so much for my floral garden. All I heard was pleasure, lol. Hello, beautiful. You have really pretty hair. Thank you so much. What's your skin routine? Looking like that you definitely have to have one. No. I eat liver, meat, fish, some vegetables. I have fresh fruits and vegetables. And I wash my face only with water. I don't wear any coverage makeup. I don't wear any creams or lotions or moisturizers, nothing. And I suntan. That's my skin routine. Sounds like one of my gems, and there are many facets. Oh my god, I love the stick figures drawings. Always, we always draw diagrams. Oh, this is so beautiful. Red and purple. Kiva, I should. Oh my god, I found a fabric store, not nearby. A little bit of a bus ride or driving distance. I really want some fabric in this, this with bouquet with lavender, rose, and tulip sequence. I super want to find a fabric like that. Flower goals accomplished. Yes, Киюшка. Очень красиво. Спасибо большое. Good evening, Malik. Hello. Welcome back. Good evening, Nastya. Always lovely with your beautiful smile. Thank you so much. Liver, meat, fish, washed with only water. Exactly. That's the skin goal. Skin routine, sorry. After years of trial and error since my teenage years, just several years ago, I arrived to the simple formula. And nothing beats it, really. So, I used to be the teenager with very heavy tone, cream, and whatnot. Always washing, always buying those salicylic acid potions, cleansers. Oh my god, I went through so much cosmetics and it's just never worked. It feels like every single time you strip the skin, it just gets so dysregulated. Then you need to replenish it, and it all spirals into a bunch of incompatibilities, basically. A bunch of chemistry incompatible with the skin. That sounds like a lovely idea for fabric. Yes, that exact one. Actually, let me take a screenshot. Can I? Can I take a screenshot during live stream? No? Oh, I can't. You look like my friend from kindergarten. I went to kindergarten in Yekaterinburg, in Russia. Skin looks flawless, but your lips look chapped, maybe just dry. I mean, I've been talking for 3 hours. I only use water for my face, but with cleaning up after an old dog, I use my own homemade soap for my hands. Yeah, dogs do that. Yeah, I bite my lips, yes. I do bite my lips. Thank you, Matthew, so much. Biting lips, actually, it's like a perpetual thing. You know, they start healing and you want to just bite. Albuquerque. 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 I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but I'm well aware of the place. Still, Stikilda. Good day all. Hello. Are you from New Zealand? Nice. Welcome. They talking, Madame deserves her credit. Job well done. Thank you, Kiva. Not 3 hours, 2:36. But that doesn't remind that I was, actually doesn't negate that I was talking prior to the stream. So, no lying here. Humberto, thank you. Australia. Cool. How did you end up in Australia? Did you move there or were you born there? Oh, sorry. Love the new studio. It's far more spacious and I enjoy it. Hey, hello, I'm already unmuted, but thank you. Let me do something. Cozy it up. My family come to Australia in convict ships, 1800. Australia kind of, I don't know, it intimidates me to be honest. In general, to me, it was super outside of my comfort zone to go to the US because I, for some reason, feel very attached to Eurasia. Like some weird thing. And in the US, I could only live on the coast. I spent a couple of months, not a couple of months, probably close to a year in Midwest slash Colorado in the beginning. And that was the most crazy experience in my immigration because I felt like I was in the middle of nowhere. And it felt so crazy. I decided for myself and I stuck with it that I will only live on the coast And most importantly on the East Coast, because I have this weird attachment to having access to European continent. So I don't know, like to me Australia seems like such a incomprehensible thing that it's so isolated from my from my continent of origin. I just can't. It's very scary. So that's some peculiarity there. You were in the middle of nowhere. I was, yes. Little did the English know they were sending convicts to a gold mine. Australia, nice, safe, Ocean Grove, Victoria. I know. But still, I didn't know that I would feel. I don't know, like my roots are, my family kind of was sent and was traveling back and forth from pretty nomadic family historically, but they're all traveling within the landmass. And it's really psychologically pressing to be on another continent altogether, separated by water, by huge body of water. I don't know. I live in a small beach town. That's cool. Alrighty guys, so I am going to start signing off because I also want to have perhaps a cup of tea in the kitchen before I go to sleep, you know, rewind a little bit. And then go to sleep. Thank you everyone for attending today's stream. Thank you everyone who's new. Subscribe to my channel. We're streaming, no, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And perhaps we'll add more days, more hours now that I know that a lot of my audience is actually from different time zone. I was kind of thinking that more of you were from the US. So we'll be adding more times, and also people who are familiar with what I'm doing are welcome to email me in photo form of life to attend my free webinars for small groups. The goal, I'm not really thrilled if there will be a ton of people at once, and would be probably it would be more reasonable if we do small groups where we can test tantric practices in a more comfortable small circle where everyone can receive feedback, where everyone can communicate how they feel in the practice, what they experience, and so on. So that's how we work. And if you want to do individual work with me, Human Renaissance, on my website, rawformoflife.com. I can become your personal Tantra coach, Tantra therapist for deep, methodical, and goal-oriented, dedicated work. So, 9 a.m. Australian time. Wonderful to know. Did you subscribe to my channel? Such that you see when I stream? Because we'll be experimenting with times. It's crazy, so how do you like it out here in the United States of America? How long have you been here? English is beautiful. It's like a poet. Just listening to you capsizes my mind, draws me in. Wanting to listen to you more and more. It's like I'm hypnotized by your voice. 10 years. This year will be 10 years. It's been a great stream as always, Kivushka. Thank you. Thank you, Kivushka. Good night, sleep tight. Thank you, Kusana Jimotoko. Second goodbye, Hippocrates. Good idea. Very good idea. Thank you. And bye-bye. American, Mexican, Italian, little German in me, but I'm 50-50. 50-50 on what? Окей. Цветочки красивые. Пока-пока.